Welcome to Aunty K's, your favorite radical queer indigenous auntie, bringing you tarot every day. Hello everyone and welcome to Aunty K's. I am here with a VR today to Sarah, the tarot nerd, and a link to Sarah's channel is going to be in the description box. So check that out. And this is Tarot Tops and Flops of 2021. So here's the parameters. Decks I received for the first time in 2021. I'm not going to include my own. That would be an unfair bias. I am not going to include decks I got for solstice because they're just too new. It's not even been a month. I'm not including them. So there are going to be other decks and we are going to get into them. Like, comment, and subscribe. And we're going to get into this. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about 3 great decks. And we're going to shit on 3 crappy decks. So let's get at it. All right. So as I said, I'm not going to include my own deck. It's totally an unfair bias. I think it's awesome. Sarah talked about decks that she used the most versus decks that are beautiful. I didn't decide to go through and see which decks I used the most in 2021 because it definitely was my own deck, the Landback Tarot, and the Next World Tarot. I also used the Gentle Tarot a whole lot in 2021. I used it as a study deck for a good part of the year. And I have a special connection to that deck. I love it on a cultural plane, and, it being the first authentically indigenous deck I ever held in my hands. But it's not my top 3 because I am definitely going to talk about decks that I reach for a lot. When I reach for them, the message is super clear. It pops right out to me. And on top of it, I happen to love the deck. All right. I'm not sure if I was supposed to exclusively stick to tarot. So one of my top 3 decks for 2021, a deck that I think is top, is an Oracle deck. It is a zombie deck by Orsi at Dragorsi's Tarot. And this deck, I knew I was excited about this deck. Don't get me wrong. I was like, zombie deck, zombie Oracle. It's not creepy. That is a factor for me. There's only one that's kind of graphic. This deck is surprising. This deck has given me insights. It's given me advice. It's given me predictions. I've reached for it for predictions because I was like, oh, you can be predictive, Oracle. Let's get predictive. And I'm surprised how versatile this Oracle deck is. It's not the biggest Oracle deck. I have Oracle decks with more cards in it. And yes, diverse, because I think just the cards themselves lend themselves to this. So turning is the only one that's really has that gore factor to any degree. They're versatile, and yet we recognize them instantly as zombies. This one's one of my favorite because, okay, it's called Sign. It's a red handprint because we've all seen that in zombie movies, bloody red handprints. But actually, this is a sign and a symbol that has specific meanings and is found in abandoned civilizations around the world as a warning sign. Don't do this shit. So I love this deck and I use it more than I expected to use it. I thought it was mostly going to be oh cool, I have a zombie deck and I'll be able to pull it out for spooky season because I don't have any spooky decks because, you know, I have a Pisces moon and gore freaks me the fuck out. And I've seen enough of it in my real life that I am not going to describe to you, that I don't need to see it in my tarot cards. So, but I love zombie movies. So awesome. Another top deck for me was the oh, I got part of this backwards. Another top deck for me was the Dream Vision Tarot by Emma Zhang, and I knew this was a top deck. Look at this hermit. I knew this was a top deck the moment that I opened this deck up. As soon as I opened this deck, I was like, holy shit. I think I look through, you know, you get a new deck. Most of us, I'm not going to say you, but most of us look through all the cards first. Whether we do guidebooks or not, whatever. We all look through the cards. I went through like a couple of cards and I was like, I need to use this deck now. I really do love this deck. It's not a pip deck, but it is pip-ish. I guess it would be scenic pips is what it would be called. But it's more than your typical scenic. Like scenic is, it's technically scenic pips, but filled with tons of detail. And sometimes the details in it, if there's one I want to find, if I didn't go through it already, are so extraordinary. That even though it is pippish, it's also not. Oh, for those who want to see the death card. Okay. Let's look for the card I want to show you. I think you more get it when you're going through it. This is a double card. Brilliant. Brilliant. This like picture in the shadows thing is, it happens in this deck more than once. Like this, I do quite like, I like this chariot. Okay, so we see the 6 of Pence, and, you know, the guy's got 3 pence in each hand, possibly like they're weighing them out, but there's hands down here with nothing. Brilliant. This deck is brilliant. So, my other top. This top was an unexpected. This is the Little Buddha Tarot. It comes with this handy symbol guide, since this tarot deck, instead of using misused, misappropriated symbols that the Golden Dawn and white folks in occultism and the Catholic Church have appropriated since the beginning of the Catholic Church because they were desperate for something real. So that's one thing I love about this deck. I do not have to look at these appropriated symbols. It does have a dream catcher in one card, which I'm highly confused about. But overall, it uses symbols from the creators, the spirituality the creator's family follows. They are, the creator is Black, their partner is Southeast Asian and Buddhist, and so not appropriation. This deck is so flipping cute. I just can't even. It's so cute. And I like having an RWS bish, fairy-ish deck that doesn't have all those appropriated symbols that they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. So I love this deck for this. It makes RWS imagery more approachable for me because it's not just people of color. It's dropped the stupid appropriated symbology that they made up. So I love that about it. And I can't believe how much I reached for this deck. Next to my deck in the Next World Tarot, that's how much I reached for it. And like art-wise, dream visions, like, oh my God. You know, I reached for this deck a lot. And it's so flippin' cute and colorful and beautiful, and I adore this deck. I adore this deck. I did not expect, like, I expected to be, I think I expected my reaction to it to be like the Gentle Tarot. I think I thought it would be a deck I would love and be so thankful to own, and to be able to show my children, to be able to use with, you know, the client who just needs that and needs that culturally and ethnically and everything. But it's more like my own deck or Next World Tarot or Dream Vision. I use this deck a lot. And now we're going to move in to the flops. Here are my big 3 flops of 2021. And I got rid of more decks than this. I think, so in my deck spreadsheet, which I'm just going to briefly show up here, the ones in red, they're decks I hated. And black is not decks I hated. Black is decks I didn't get, didn't fun, whatever. Red is decks I hated. So we can see there's actually 4. But these are the top 3. We are going to go from bad to horrible to you're a fucking Karen. All right. So let's get in to these decks clearly created by Karen and Chad. The first one up is Cosmovision's Tarot by James R. Eade. I got this deck as a gift because I'd seen a couple pictures and I thought it was really pretty. I think that when tarot readers say that they are all into diverse decks, that they probably don't have all white decks, but that's not true. They're totally comfortable apparently with buying all white decks. Lots of them do. I keep discovering this as I watch your channels. So this deck is a cis het white deck. And I checked it out. James lives in Los Angeles. There is a completely diverse population in Los Angeles. So if James' circle is all white, that's because James is problematic and hasn't been able to make diverse friends or have, and consequently have diverse representation in his tarot. So this is a giant thumbs down. This deck is a dumpster fire of cultures of whiteness. Oh yeah, I'm not being pretty. I am not going to be pretty. Second deck up. Women in Science Tarot, made by MIT. The lack of research in this deck by MIT is fucking atrocious. What is my complaint? I'm going to show one example because I got rid of these decks. Actually, there's a video of me burning this particular deck, and that's my video about being a tarot deck reviewer. So, this deck features a diverse array of women in science. That should be a thumbs up. It should be, but it isn't. So let me tell you why it isn't. The issue with this deck is a rasher. Well, it recognizes the ethnicity of a few characters in the deck within the guidebook. Mostly it glosses over. It doesn't say. Occasionally it does. Other times we can tell clearly by the picture, either by the character's clothes or their brown skin tone contrasted against the pink, not like white, it's pink, skin tone of white folks. I'm stressing that it's pink because some of the folks of color in this deck are depicted with pink skin. Some folks of color are light skinned, but you know what? We aren't pink. And there's some light skinned characters in this deck with like a light tan. That would be appropriate, except that one of the characters, this character, is a black woman who clearly looks black and is given pink skin in this deck. Her accomplishments are recognized. Okay, I'm going to read what I wrote on a post on Instagram about this. I also did a video, but I can't find it. Okay, this is a rasher. I recently got the Women of Science Tarot. It's awful. It includes racist suffragettes alongside lesbian anarchists with zero mention of either. To be clear, I like lesbian anarchists. But where it does the most harm is women of color. Here's one example. Jane Cook Wright, colored here with light pink skin. The book talks about her work in chemotherapy with no mention that she's black. No mention that she was one of the highest ranked African American women in a medical institution. This is a rasher. If I hadn't Googled, I would have assumed she was another white woman in the deck. This deck has minimal diversity as it is. Coloring BIPOC women to look white, that's racism. This deck is a failure of MIT women to do some freaking research. The result is it upholds white supremacy. So, that was the other thing. The reason I Googled is because I came across as Women of Science's card in this deck and, read about her and I was like, wait, I've read a book where you are mentioned as a racist suffragette. And so I did some Googling, looking, I think primarily through Goodreads to confirm that she was listed in this book about racist suffragettes. And she was one of the people who used science, how white women were most similar to white men and therefore should not be treated like people of color who were not like white men. That was the science. All our science to do with women, that this bitch whose name I'm not going to mention and don't remember at the moment, was upheld for, was about promoting white women as being above people of color. So, not science. That deck, it's not just a flop, it's a dumpster fire. Another dumpster fire. All right. Let's move on to can it get any worse, Chris? Oh, it can get worse. This is the Lua Tarot. And the Lua Tarot is by deck creator at Divine Muses, Marie Bento. Just so you all know. All right. So, I reviewed this deck on Indie Deck Review. And this is one of the things I wrote about it. In the real world representation by the numbers, I wrote, I did not write an RWR, real world representation, because sometimes numbers aren't the whole story. This deck checks all the right boxes minimally. As a queer Indigenous tarot reader, it didn't feel diverse. It felt tokenized. Diversity is more than 1/3 random BIPOC folks. For people who don't know, that stands for Black, Brown, Indigenous, People of Color. Do that. Diversity isn't the one person with a disability shown as a beggar. Diversity is knowledge and relationships. Without these, it just becomes harmful. Not knowing or learning the historic image is harmful. BIPOC bodies are political. That's a fact. Without knowledge and intent, that political statement becomes oppressive. The numbers don't matter. Please sit with the juxtaposition of images to consider this. All right. I'm going to show these images while I read what I wrote. The Lua Tarot is an 80-card deck, including 1 title card and 79 tarot cards. The images are a collection of a 19th century, that's 1800s, engravings in black and white. And the collage work is very seamless and clearly much detail was paid. These are matte cardstock, but with a finish so they slide. Very well. The deck is stunning, truly. This deck is described as diverse by the creator. White folks, stop describing your work as diverse. Stop describing your work as diverse. Unless we make at least 50% of the deck, you're just using us as a selling point. As an Indigenous tarot reader, I disagree. The artwork is Victorian era engravings. This was the era of colonialism, and world Indigenous people were some of the most popular subjects of the time. You can see this in the cards that do have BIPOC folks in them. Diversity requires representation that is real and uplifts. The Six of Wands is a card of victory. The Six of Wands in this deck is just gutting. Okay. As described, there is a white woman holding a flag, riding a camel in procession as Indian men. She's just colonized and whose street she's parading through, celebrate and welcome her and her entourage. Oppression and colonialism are not victory in the eyes of 80% of this planet that's being colonized. Can you tell I'm pissed? And that's where this deck comes to. It's gorgeous, but it's blind to the issues of racism and white supremacy in our world in a way that is harmful. These are historical images that depict real people and lives that some have forgotten and others have not. For those of us negatively impacted by the history of these images, it's important to know what images you're using, what they mean to others, and what they are actually saying based on their placement in a tarot deck. This lady's like, if you think victory is a white person parading through the streets they just colonized and the colonized people being forced to honor you and celebrate you, like, if you think that's victory, you're a fucking racist. Put on a hood, bitch. You're a fucking racist if that's what you think. This deck upset me so much. To come as an Indigenous person, even though the Six of Wands didn't show my people, although they showed people who my people were named for by the colonizers, which probably is part of what makes it like just as equally as good. No, it doesn't matter. Any world Indigenous group, I would have felt like this because this is an engraving of an actual real event. And although this is an engraving of a particular actual real event, it happened all over the world as a celebration of people's genocide. Yeah. Another card, it's in here. We have an image here of, we have an engraved image done in print of Manifest Destiny. Manifest Destiny was an image created by white colonizers of this white angel woman floating over the Americas showing how God and whiteness are conquering it. Did she try to be this racist and then call it diverse just to sell people like racist? Like, how do you not get that this is fucked up and racist? How do you not look at that Six of Wands and not think that a bunch of brown people celebrating a white woman conquering them is not fucked up and racist? How do you not get that? Yeah. Fucked up. So now that my blood pressure is through the roof, as I went over decks that, weren't just like, you have bad cardstock, you have terrible art. Like, they didn't actually have terrible. Okay, the MIT deck is pretty terrible fucking art. The other two decks are actually gorgeous art. They're just racist. They're just, one of them is outright racist. And the other two decks are racist by a rasher, and also one by the inclusion of a white supremacist as science. Like, this is beyond bad cardstock, not my art style. This is like, these decks should not fucking exist. If you have them in your collection, I'm going to cringe when I see them and be like, what's fucking wrong with you? That's... I mean, with the Cosmic Visions, I'm not going to be like, what's fucking wrong with you? I'm just going to be like, yeah. Diversity is important when you're showing it on a channel, but, most of the time you like reaching for your all-white deck. I get that the majority of decks are like the Cosmic Visions Tarot. I do. I get it. But you know what? There's a whole lot of decks that have 25-30% diversity. That if you want to be bordering the edge between tokenism and diversity, fucking go for it. It's better than I got this all white deck. I don't know. Get a Chris Ann deck. It's 25-30%. It's minimally diverse. Get one of her decks. Cosmic Visions Tarot is a deck created by a white guy in a heavily diverse city who still apparently thinks the world should look all white. And if that's okay with you, I'm going to roll my eyes every time you talk about diversity. That's why I also don't like Silo Thompson. She makes decks that include plants, animals, humanized animals, and white people. And I said it before. Some of you want to say, we don't have to be diverse. You don't. But if you're not, you're upholding white supremacy. You're either actively combating white supremacy in media and art and images, or you're participating in it. There is not a fence here. So if you are creating all white decks, just like in the 80s when they used to create all white TV shows and movies, dude, you're that fucking backwards. You just are. Oh. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining me all the way through this. I hope you enjoyed my 3 tops. I hope you made it through my 3 rants, and hopefully I edited those rants and the ones that came after it down a bit. And I'm currently bringing my blood pressure down because it was so I want to give a nod to the decks that didn't qualify for consideration. I don't know how else to put that. They were too new, like I said, so it just didn't seem fair. So they are Ratty Runes by Nina from Shuffle Tarot. And there's a rat who's so cute. Who's the rat featured in here? And I'm using this in my rune practice to get to know runes better. So I'm using this deck in a very specific way for now, till I know runes better. Also for solstice, I got the Morning Calm Oracle by C.O. Keller. And this Korean watercolor oracle deck is stunning. And if you can see how stunning this art is, the insights in the guidebook are equally stunning. I'm constantly just... This deck is gorgeous. And I'm like, oh man, I need to return to having a good place to put my card of the day that I look at. Because I want to look at these cards all day. And I haven't figured that out because, as you can see, my tarot and oracle stuff is behind me. All right. I also got the Magna Tarot, which is a mass market deck where they flip all the masculine and feminine characters in tarot around. And one of the most beautiful examples of this is in the Three of Cups. The only card I don't like in this deck is the double card. Its insight is like heavily related to Christian fear. Anyway, Three of Cups. This is healthy masculinity that I want to see. As somebody with masculine friends, as a mother of sons, I want to see healthy masculinity. I think that's one of the things I like about the little Buddha Tarot also, is it was created for the purpose of creating a deck of brown boy joy, and it comes through. The last one of my solstice decks that arrived was the Triomphe della Luna Paradoxical Purple. It is the deluxe set, which comes with 10 extra cards and an additional... But so this is a Marseille deck. It's by Patrick Valenza. It comes with several extra cards, and I made my choices as to which ones I wanted. I'm glad there's choices because some of them I didn't like. This is one of the 10 extras. This is one of the alternate majors. So the other majors, the ones sideways, are the extra cards. The alternate majors are based on another tarot deck style. I don't remember, from somewhere in Europe. And so they're pretty cool, but I've not found guidebook information for them. The guidebook for this deck's online. The link didn't work. A friend sent me their copy of it in a PDF, but it doesn't... It talks about these cards, but it doesn't talk about these ones. But possibly because my friend didn't have the deck that include these. I don't know. Anyway, so folks, check the description box. Check out my link tree. You can book tarot appointments through there with me if you like. I've simplified the process or the platforms immensely. You can also check out my website, my Patreon, and my Discord. My Discord is connected to my Patreon, but I also have open Discord channels on my Discord that you can participate in, such as general or daily tarot, if you want to connect with me that way but aren't using Patreon. There's more decks coming in. I have some Kickstarter I have some Kickstarters and pre-orders I'm expecting between now and March, and I'm pretty excited about those. There are several of them. One was added today because my son saw it and wanted it. He's 7, and I was like, yeah, that seems like a really cool deck. I got some more decks on pre-order coming in from Pretty Spirits, who did the Truth decks. I already have the Reconciliation deck, and I'm ordering the 2 other decks I have on order from them are really specifically for client readings. I'm waiting on Divine Diversity 2. I'm waiting on Sacred Relatives. That Feeling When. The Decolonized Tarot. Fortune Queens Tarot. And I'm pretty sure they're all expected between February and March. So that's pretty exciting. We'll see how delays in shipping goes, both on the creators' end, and I wish them all the best because it can be stressful. And also on the end of all those of us receiving it, that the mail goes swiftly, that there are no more floods in BC, but also if Mother Nature wants to hold up capitalism, I will wait and be patient and thank her. And so yeah, like, comment, subscribe. You'll get to see more decks in that coming this year. I don't know where my tarot channel is going for 2022. I'll tell you something. Doing the double deckers, I don't like general readings. I think I've been doing them because I think that's what people want. But I don't actually like doing general readings, and that's actually what they come to. And I've had this realization this year that I do this thing where I'm like, oh, I want to do this thing, but I have to make it bigger and more complicated and more difficult and have complete control over it. And that's not self-worth. That is ego. Self-worth was my theme for last year that I chose. And by the end of it, I came to understand that there's a difference between self-worth and ego. And certainly, I'm not feeling my self-worth if I'm making something much longer, much more complicated, much more difficult than it needs to be to stand out to stand out. I'm going to be honest, to stand out. Why did I make my double decker? To stand out. I won't give you just a regular general reading. I'll let you layer it up. And like, essentially, it made 12 readings for me to do. I would have, which was ridiculous. It was. So I love you all. I apologize. I'm deciding right here on the spot, but it's been in my head. Should I still be doing this? Like, let's be honest. I get them out not every week. So I'm not the person you should come to for a weekly free reading because I don't even get them out every week. And I'm deciding right here, yeah, I'm not going to try and make it work more. I'm going to let it go because it wasn't serving my self-worth. And if we try to fulfill self-worth through ego, we fail. So, goodbye, double-decker pick-a-cards. Pick-a-piles. Yeah. I don't know where my channel is going to go. I've done a bunch of VRs. I'm going to let it be organic. And this time I'm really going to try to not necessarily commit to series because I'm a Gemini and I suck at doing the same thing more than once or twice. Yeah. So I'm not going to try. That's where it goes. This video became really long. I'm not sure how much editing I'm going to get into it. So I'm going to double, triple thank you. See you all later.